Hello, everyone, and welcome to our third day of our career trifecta. Today, we're going to be talking about virtual interviews. So, we have 5 virtual interview tips for college students. But first, let's talk about what virtual interviews are. So, there's 2 different types that could be live or pre recorded. If it's pre recorded, then the employer will have sent you some questions for you to answer, and you would record yourself and send those back into the employer. If it's live, then you would be sitting at your computer with another employer at their computer, and they would be asking you questions and you would be giving the responses. It could just be one other interviewer, or it could be several other interviews. It could be a group, or like I say, single. And there's different software that could be used for the interview. It could be done through Skype or Zoom or Google Hangouts or WebEx meetings. There's just different types of software that could be used during the interview. So the first thing you want to do is test your technology. Make sure your video and your sound are working properly. Test your microphone. Make sure your web camera is working. So check those things ahead of time before the interview starts. You might want to think about a backup plan in case something isn't working. Uh, Maybe during the meeting, it worked while you were testing it, and then all of a sudden during the interview it doesn't work. That's okay. Just let them know you're having a problem, and you would call them back. Maybe you can set up another time for the interview, or maybe it could be a phone interview if something goes wrong. Think about where you're going to do the interview in your house. So make sure you're choosing a place that's quiet, not in the middle of the living room where there could be somebody walking by, something going on. So choose a room that's quiet, that isn't very distracting, somewhere that would have a neutral background. You don't want a lot going on back there, a lot of busy print or anything like that. So try to find a neutral background. Tip number 2, be prepared. So make sure you've researched the company. Make sure you have some questions that you have ready to ask them. Make sure you practiced your elevator pitch and have that ready. And just like I say, have a general knowledge of the company. You want to dress professionally. Make sure you've gotten on their website. You've looked to see, do I need to be wearing a tie and a suit, or do I need to be wearing a blazer or a sweater? What is professional for them? And it's better to be overdressed than underdressed. So always take that tip, that you want to be a little bit over than under. You want to have a copy of your resume and questions for the interviewer in front of you. If you're sitting at a table, just have that in a notebook right there. Make sure your space in front of you or anything that they can see is nice and neat and clean. Make sure all the tabs on your computer are closed and your phone is silenced to limit all those distractions. Tip number 3, use good body language. You want to try looking at the webcam while you're speaking with the interviewer. You want to try to have good posture. You don't want to be slouched over. Try to sit up nice and straight, shoulders back. And like I say, looking straight at that webcam, nodding and smiling, showing that you have or that you're interacting with them in a positive way, and try to really sit still. We know it's really hard during an interview. You want to fidget, you're nervous, so just try as hard as you can to sit still. You don't want to be swaying all over the place. And then it's okay to use simple hand gestures while you're speaking. Shows that you're interacting and that you're involved in the interview. Tip number 4, be ready for technology related questions. If you're applying for a remote position, then they're probably going to be asking you questions that are technology related, such as, what are your technology skills? Have you ever worked remotely before? And that's okay if you haven't, just have an answer of something that you can relate to a position that you've worked before. How could you relate that to working remotely? So think about how you can kind of make it spin that way. Another possible question they could ask is, what do you think your biggest challenge would be working remotely? So try to think of an answer that would help you. You want to think of some questions that you can ask the employer, such as, what opportunities could I have to connect with coworkers while working remotely? Maybe they have a set up lunch hour where you can go into a Zoom room or Skype room and get to know each other, ask questions. Another question you could ask is, how does your company support working remotely? Will you be checking in weekly or daily? How will they support you with your technology and your questions? And then another question you could ask is, how will I be supervised and supported? Again, just with that check-in, How many supervisors will you be having? Will it just be one person checking on you? Several people? Who could you go to if you had a question? And what can you do when you need help? And then tip number 5, you want to follow up your interview with a thank you. So you want to start that email with the subject line, thank you, and your first and last name and the job title. In your body of the email, you want to address the person properly. If it's a Mr., Mrs., Doctor, make sure you include their title. You want to keep it brief. Thank them for their time. Show them how you connected with them, that you're excited about the position, maybe something that stood out in your interview, something you guys talked about, something that you could connect with them. So always send that thank you letter. It really helps set you apart. So those are 5 tips from the Career Development Center at Indiana University Southeast. Please join us tomorrow at 1 p.m. to find out more about virtual internships. So thank you for joining us today, and I hope to see you tomorrow.